It is Heritage Month, and as I mentioned earlier, all month long we'll be giving you, really rich conversations about our culture, our food, our heritage, everything that contributes to who we are as Ghanaians. And today we're going to talk about the rich food of the Akan people. So if there's any specific Akan meal that you like, that you would want to know more about and its history, this is a time to use that hashtag Breakfast Daily and the WhatsApp line 0550585832 for us to hear from you. I have been joined by Dr. Mrs. Alberta Bonzi Simpson. She's a senior lecturer and a vice dean at UPSA. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
I haven't seen you in forever. How have you been?
I've been well, and you?
I'm good. Last time I saw you, you were at a different university,
Yes,
and now you're here.
That is about 4 years or 3 years ago, yeah.
I hope you're well.
I'm good, by grace. And
you look fabulous, by the way. I hope you take a picture when we are done.
Sure. Without the mask, though.
Exactly. Let's talk about Akan foods. Where do we even start from? What's the history?
When we talk about Akans, mostly we are talking about the Asantes and the Fantis.
Okay.
The Fantis are by the beach, and the Asantes are inland.
Okay.
So most of the time, the kind of food that people subscribe to depends on what is in their environment. So Fantis eat more of fresh fish, whilst Asantes eat more smoked fish. Asantes eat more vegetables in terms of kontomire,
nyadwa.
Yes, nyadwa. Yes. Fantis do a lot of tomatoes, onions, and stuff like that. So basically, it depends on where you are. Fantis also do more corn, carbohydrates, whereas the Asantes like tubers.
Okay.
Mostly, yes.
And how does this now influence the kinds of things we see? Because, for instance, in Kumasi, every Saturday people are eating their pounded food. They don't miss it.
So Kumasi right now has become some kind of a culinary melting pot because of its location. Kumasi generally has some northerners, it has some southerners, and then everybody is there. But their fufu, they do not joke with. There are certain kinds of, as I said, there are certain kinds of food that are popular with the Asantes. They do a lot of the etos or oto kind of that you talk about. So oto, for example, they have different variety of eto. They have the yam eto, which is also eaten in the south, and that is basically palm oil stew or just palm oil with mashed yam.
And some granite paste.
Granite paste and eggs to garnish, of course.
And if you have pear too, you put it on top
eggs.
of the...
Yes,
people
and
add
then pear. Yes, pear and the eggs are just accompaniments to complement the eto. Then you can also have the ogo. The ogo is the roasted cocoyam that has been mashed and then with the granite paste and the oil and then the eggs. Then you also have the chichiredeche.
Hey, which
the
one is that?
chichiredeche is very ripe plantain oto with beans.
Ooh.
You mix it with beans and garnish it with beans.
Wow.
That
So
is
that's very
different
high
from
protein
yes. That
type
is
of
different from the plantain oto.
Okay.
The plantain oto, it's a semi-ripe plantain. So the plantain is not so ripe. Then you prepare the oto with it with your pear and your eggs.
Wow.
Yes, and before we continue, I have actually written a book, a standard recipe book of about 70 Ghanaian dishes.
You're kidding.
That is in print. So immediately it comes out, I'll come and introduce it to you.
How was that process like? What did you discover along the way? Because when it comes to eto, the only ones I knew, the plantain and the yam. And even the plantains, I grew up in Kumasi. We did that more. I see more people in Accra doing the yam. So how was that experience like for you?
We started with a focus group discussion of key influencers, women in different 13 ethnic groups.
Wow.
So we gather them and then we have a chat. And sometimes we make them do some of the food. It's not sometimes, every group we make them prepare some of the food for us to see. And we use the listing method. So as people mention the dishes, immediately you realize they are repetitions. You know that you have exhausted the list of the food. Yes, so every community we went, we made them talk. And when we realize that the food is being repeated, we know that we have exhausted the list. So based on that, we gathered over 100, maybe close to, yes, about 150 or more Ghanaian dishes. And then I decided, of course, the data collection was not done by myself alone. Others also contributed. I engaged a lot of my Polytechnic colleagues also to get on board, the hospitality department colleagues to get on board. And after that, I had to sit down and then write the recipes for it to make sense.
Oh my God.
Because our preparation, we never use books.
So this is perfect for people who are listening to us and don't know how to prepare them. For instance, when I make my eto, I don't add the kobe and momone. But my friend Evelyn, she can't make her eto without the kobe and the momone. Where does that come from?
So based on what I heard from them, I had to now come and sit down, make sense out of all of this, and put proportions to the ingredients. And the interesting part of the whole process is the testing of the recipe.
Wow.
From some until evening. Yes, just testing. It's like science. Yes, food is an applied science. So it's like being in the lab. Wow. If I take 2 tomatoes, 1 onion, 1 pepper, what is the effect? What should I? So I measure, and I try, then I reduce the measurements and all of that just to get the right proportions. And based on the right proportions, I wrote the book. And it is a full-colored book with colored pictures of processes.
When is the book coming out, Doc? Because that's what we're all curious
hopefully
about.
in 3 months.
In 3 months,
yes,
it will come
because
out.
it is full colored. It is being printed abroad. So
wow.
The shipping and everything. Let's give ourselves 3 months.
So what occasions would we eat such meals?
Yes.
The etos, the fufu, the abomu, and apems.
Yes. Generally, when you go to the Asantes, fufu and tubers, which they call ampesi. And ampesi, for example, you can have yam ampesi, you can have plantain ampesi, you can have cocoyam ampesi. Cocoyam, they have different varieties of cocoyam, and of course, yam, different varieties. They are dente, the puna, the afasie, and all of that, different types of yam. Those are staples that are eaten every day. But the otos generally are festive and a ritual kind of food.
Yeah.
That was one of the challenges the hotels had in serving oto in the hotel, because they said a lot of people attached spirituality to oto.
So growing up, we didn't eat oto outside.
Exactly.
I still find it weird when people buy it outside.
Exactly. They don't eat oto outside. So that is mostly cultural and festive. So you see people going to have weddings, they will give them oto. People celebrating their birthdays, they will give them oto. There is some kind of science also behind eating the oto and egg. You see, the heavy carbohydrate stops your stomach from running. Yes, so it's also very filling. So you can sit in your program from morning till evening and not feel hungry.
True.
Yes, so normally when people are going through such processes, they give them oto. Southern staples is the etzel or the mor or dokon. When we come to the dokon, we have different types of dokon. Yes, I'm a southern girl through and through. Mor, ana dokon, ana etzel. Ono na ehia ni ezi. Aha, na dokon. Okay, I almost spoke fancy.
No, you're getting it. No, we like it.
Almost spoke
Go
fancy.
ahead, we like it.
There are different types of dokon. You would have the fancy dokon, and even the fancy dokon, you have a hatalpa and a kronkra dokon.
What's the difference?
The ahatalpa is the one that they've used the plantain leaves, the dried plantain leaves.
Okay.
The akronkra is the one that they use the single leaves and then pierce into the kenkey with them one by one. So there are 2. Okay. And the difference in the taste comes from the flavors that the leaves lend to the kenkey.
Wow.
Yes. In fact, the preparation of Ghana kenkey and fancy kenkey is the same. The only difference is the wrap.
Wow.
And the wrap also gives it flavor. So the wrap changes the flavor. And then we also have the insihu dokon. The insihu dokon is the kenkey that has been prepared from a dough that is made from corn that has been dehusked. Like when you take the husk off the corn before you soak it and grind it or mill it. Then you use that to prepare the insihu. The insihu is very nice and easy to eat because you have taken the husk. It takes the sourness of the kenkey, but it's not too nutritious.
Okay.
Because you've taken out the fiber, and you've taken out the eye of the grain that contains some proteins and some minerals and vitamins. So you are left with just the carbohydrates.
Okay.
So basically, that is it.
But these meals are not eaten by themselves. Usually we have some fish to complement them. Walk us through that as well.
So in Fantiland, as I told you, fresh fish is the staple. And there are, I'll talk about iconic fresh fish dishes.
Please go for it.
The first one is called intiti.
Okay.
When we talk about intiti, it is fresh fish stew made with anchovies or small herrings. The kind of fish that has bones that you can chew and swallow.
Yeah.
Yes, so they make the stew with it and then they scoop it. That's why they call it intiti. You can't really pick fish whole. Everything is mixed up in the pot and then you have to scoop it. It's called intiti. Then we have the apofanto. The apofanto is a recipe that generated or started with the fisher folks.
Okay.
When they go to sea, they will take some of the fish. They will take, most of the time, they have the earthenware grinder with the tapori and the yaba. And they will take some tomato and onion. They will grind it. They will put the tomato and onion on the fish and scoop sea water.
Wow.
And add it to it because it has salt.
Okay. So they don't need to add salt.
They don't need to add salt.
Brilliant.
And then they cook it into a light soup kind of thing and eat it with gari or kenkey or etzel.
Wow.
Or gari, etzel, or kenkey. Yeah.
Okay.
Eat it at sea. So the fresh fish light soup is a form of apofanto, a polished form of apofanto. Of course, we don't use seawater, we use proper salt. And then we have the mfansum fancy.
Hey.
Mfansum fancy is fresh fish stew. I like to prepare my mfansum fancy with sliced vegetables. So the onions, the tomatoes are sliced instead of ground. Some people will grind it and prepare the red oil stew.
What difference does it make for you?
It makes the dish more interesting when you slice it. And it also gives a texture.
Yeah.
Fish is soft. So if you blend everything and you add it and all of that, yeah, it's also nice. But I like to chew a bit and swallow a bit. And, there should be different textures in food for food to be interesting.
True.
Yes.
What role does onion play in all of this? Because I thought Ghanaians use a lot of onions.
Yes.
Till I met a Senegalese and I was like, you guys go to the next level with onions. What did you discover in your research, the role of onions in all of this? I
have realized that the richer you are, the more onions you eat. Ghanaians love onions. It's just that it's expensive.
True.
So you see that those who are economizing, they'll just peel the small brown of it and cut just a small of the top. But if you are rich, you just cut and peel and take layers off and throw away. So it is because onions are expensive. But in Ghanaian cuisine, the richer you want the food to be, the more onions you add.
True.
And it is a very economic thing, economic decided thing. In other words, the richer you are, the more onions you put in your food. But every Ghanaian woman wishes there was more onions in their food. Yes.
What else do we know about the Akan foods? I don't know if Aprapransa is part, because
there's
also a whole myth around eating Aprapransa outside when I was a child.
Yes, Aprapransa is also an Akan food.
Okay.
It is either Aprapransa or apreje.
Yeah.
The fancies will call it apreje. And that is made from roasted corn flour. So the roasted corn flour can either be mixed into a red oil stew, or it can be mixed into palm nut soup.
Yeah.
So you either use palm nut soup as the base or red oil stew as the base, depending on what you have. And it is mostly a leftover preparation. Yeah. So I made palm nut soup. We ate it with fufu today. Tomorrow I'll just mix some kind of brown flour, which is the roasted corn flour, and then we would have it. It can also be specially prepared for occasions for people to eat. Again, it also has a lot of superstition associated with it. And I don't know where it came
Like
from.
people can pass, somebody can bewitch you with Aprapransa and all those. But why is it served with koto?
I think it just makes it nice and
Ah.
interesting. Because Aprapransa itself on its own.
It's very boring. You didn't say it, I said it.
You know, one of the challenges I had in presenting it in the book was how to garnish it for it not to look like something that I don't want to mention. It's too early in the morning. So
That's a very beautiful look. Very brownish, golden brown look.
yeah, but you know,
I
a
know.
soft brownish thing looks like something. So,
Oh, dog.
but generally, dishes prepared with red oil. Red oil has a lot of superstition. It's not sold after 6. You can't because they will give you human blood.
Yeah.
I don't know where all of those superstition. And we met all of those comments from the people we interviewed.
Wow.
And we also interviewed some hotel chefs and why it is difficult for them to serve Ghanaian dishes in the hotels. And we reported that also.
Okay.
And generally, as I said, the Asantis, they are in the middle belt. So they eat more bushmeat and smoked fish.
Yep.
It ends up that smoked fish is cheaper in Ashanti than in Central region.
Yeah.
In a way of preservation, the women smoke the fish to preserve it. And when they smoke it, there is ready market for it in the Ashanti. So they end up sending all the smoked fish over
the
there.
Ashanti
There's very
region.
little, you know, demand and supply.
True.
So there's more. And they also eat a lot of bush meat because they are surrounded by forest and bush and all of that. And they eat, of course, the kontomire abom,
Yeah.
the abom and trawa abom. They also do kontomire kwine. They
Yeah.
eat a lot of
Ebunebunu,
food.
for
Ebunebunu,
instance.
that is kontomire soup.
But speaking of leftovers, there's also impihu or nuhu. I don't know what you guys call it.
We call-
Mpoto.
We call it impihu.
Yeah.
Mpoto is the Accra crude way of calling impihu is what
It's
it's
the way it's
called.
called,
Yes,
impihu.
yes, and that also is an Akan dish.
Okay.
And that it can also be made with palm nut soup.
How did you
or be made with
discover
palm
the
nut soup.
making? Because a friend of mine, Pearl, she can't get it right. She does stew, then she pours the cocoyam in it, then it turns out looking messy. How is it prepared?
So you see, cooking is an art, and all you need is the basics.
Okay.
For example, you should, if you want to draw a human being, you should know the basics, which is the anatomy of the human being. And your human being might look different from another person's human being. That is how cooking is. I like to prepare my impihu or mpotompoto with any protein that I like. I can do it with snails, I can do it with chicken, I can do it with squid.
Yeah.
Anything. So if you want it to look interesting, you want it to look classy, you want it to look something that you can serve a guest, just start with chicken.
Okay.
Debone the chicken, skin it, and cut it into dice it into medium-sized chunks. Prepare your stew, add your chicken, steam your chicken a bit and pour it into the stew. Set it aside. Now, cut your coconut into large chunks. Some people like it very smooth. Other people like the chunks in it. I like the chunks in it.
Okay.
So you cut it into large chunks, boil it, let it soften, and then use the back of a ladle
Okay.
to mash a bit of it into it to thicken the water around it. Then
Doc,
you
I think you
mix
should
it
come
into
back
the
and
stew.
cook with us. We'll come to your kitchen and cook. Because the way you are talking now, all my cameramen are like celebrating.
You see, I was thinking of bringing something, but
We should have done it. We'll do part 2. It's a whole
Yes,
month.
yes,
So we'll do part 2.
Yes.
But for the people who are looking forward to your book coming out so that we can
Yes.
all learn to do it the right way,
Yes.
where do we find you? Where do we contact you?
Right now, I have only one number.
Okay.
So
Or
I
even
don't
your
want
social
to-
media or your email, something, so
Yes.
that people don't harass you. Not that you guys will harass. Of course you won't. We are all family.
I am going to find a number dedicated to that.
Nice.
Yes.
So when you come back for us to cook together,
Exactly.
then you'll share it with them.
Exactly. I definitely have to come back and introduce the book here. So when I come back, I'll give a number that is dedicated to that so that I can separate my private number from there.
Nice. And of course, viewers, you can call our front desk or you can tweet us as Breakfast Daily or send our numbers in 0550585832 if you want to learn more. What are the specific meals that you love that we didn't talk about? We're going to bring her back and we won't only talk about them, we'll attempt to cook them as well. So the hashtag is Breakfast Daily, and the WhatsApp line is 0550-585-832. Of course, you can also call our front desk, because I personally can't wait for the book to come out. We need to start learning more about some of these meals that we've taken for granted. Thank you so much, Dr.
welcome.
Mrs. Bonzi Simpson.
It's a pleasure being here.